In this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a little Christmas game called Run Run Santa. And all it is a simple dash game where Santa will be running across the screen collecting presents as he goes. There are 3 obstacles that he needs to avoid as well: Christmas tree, a gingerbread man and a reindeer. If you hit one of those, it is game over immediately, and we're just looking for the highest score possible. You get 1 point for each present that you collect. So I'm going to run it now. There is a bit of background music, so it will be a bit noisy as I record this, but let's have a look at how the game works very quickly. There we go, so you get a bit of an idea on how the game works exactly. So you just run along, collect as many presents as you can, hit an obstacle, it is game over. Now this game has plenty of room for expansion as well, so once you finish doing the tutorial with me, it would be nice to see you go on and try and expand on the game by, I don't know, maybe you could add some more things to collect to get more points. As you go, you could add a time limit, you could add in some lives, you could add in some more enemies. Okay, the options are endless, so get a bit creative and try and make this game a little bit better than what I am going to show you in today's tutorial. Now to get started, you will need to download all the different sprites, sounds and backdrops that you need. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get those from the link in the video description below, but if you're in my class, I will give you access to the different sprites. So the first thing we want to do to get started is delete that scratch cat out of our new project, and we're going to start uploading all the different sprites. So here they all are here, saved in a folder. I've got Santa. I'm going to bring in the clouds. I'm actually going to duplicate those clouds, and I'll show you why in a moment. What else have we got? We've got a little gift. Got the bloke rowing the boat. Gingerbread man. We've got a reindeer. Got a seagull. And finally a Christmas tree. Okay, so our page looks a little bit messy there, but don't worry, we'll get that all sorted out shortly. Something else that we need to do is bring in our backdrop. So what we're going to do is go to choose a backdrop, and we're going to upload this beach backdrop. Now once that beach backdrop is in, I want you to go and delete backdrop 1 because we don't need that empty backdrop anymore. And we need to stretch this backdrop out so it actually fits on the page a little bit nicer. So let's select that and start stretching it out. Okay, so that should fill the entire screen. Go a little bit off the edges if you would like there. I think scratch will let us, but anyway, that doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to move this down a bit because I want to see less sand and more sky, so I'm going to have to actually expand on that sky a bit. Yeah, something like that doesn't look too bad. So you can see in amongst all that mess, the backdrop doesn't look too shabby. So I'm pretty happy with how that backdrop is looking. Now while we're on the backdrop, I might as well make the game over screen while I'm at it. So what I'm going to do is right click on this backdrop here and duplicate it. And simply grab my text tool here, pick a colour, sort of resembles something a bit nasty, so the colour red there. And choose your font as Pixel, or you can choose whatever font you want, but Pixel I think looks good for a computer game. In capital letters, I'm just going to write the words game over. Okay, once they are written in, can we stretch that out? Yes we can, we'll stretch that out and just move it somewhere in the middle of the sky there. So we're not going to code that up just yet, but once our game is over and we hit an obstacle, that screen will appear. But while we're playing our game, we're just going to have the empty sky and the beach backdrop. Okay. So what we might do is we might get our backdrop running first. So I'm just going to hide a few of these bits and pieces that I'm not using. So Santa can be hidden for now. The gifts can be hidden. The boat can be hidden. Basically everything except for the clouds for the minute. So that little show toggle button there will just show different sprites and hide other ones. Okay, and we're going to start with the clouds, as I said before. Now these clouds are massive, a bit too big for my liking, so what we're going to do is go into our costumes. We're going to edit them. First of all, I'm going to grab this little arrow tool down here and select the top cloud and just simply delete it. I'm then going to select this little one that's left and drag it up to the center point just there. I'm then going to hold Alt on my keyboard and just resize it so it's a little bit more realistic as a cloud when you see it on the screen here. So a cloud in the sky about that size doesn't look too bad. Now on clouds 2, I'm going to do the same thing, but just switch the clouds around. I'm going to select the bottom one first and delete it. Then I'm going to click and drag over the top one and move it down to the center point, so the little point is over that crosshair in the middle. Then I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard, resize it to a more respectable size, so something like that. Doesn't look too bad, maybe just a smidge bigger. Okay, that looks pretty good. So our 2 clouds are looking pretty nice now. So I'm going to go down, just rename it to Cloud 1 and Cloud 2 there, so I know the difference between the two. They're going to be very similar. Now I'm going to put some code in to get these clouds flying across the screen. So I'm going to start with cloud number 1, and I'm going to go to my events and bring out when the green flag is clicked. That simply means when I start my game and press this green flag, what do I want the cloud to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is go to my looks and simply hide it. I want it to disappear off the screen to start with. I actually want it to take maybe 5 seconds or so before this cloud appears. So I'm going to wait 5 seconds, and then I'm going to show it. Okay, so there's my show option there. Now once it shows up on the screen, I'm going to tell it to set its X position or X coordinate to 250, which is just off to the right hand side of the screen. And then I'm going to set the Y position, so the vertical axis here, to, I'm going to actually pick random here. I want the cloud to sort of vary each time it appears on the screen, so it can appear anywhere between coordinates 100 and 150. So that's roughly about there, up to the top of the page. Oops. Okay, so once we've got our cloud showing up and starting in its set position, we need it to move across the screen. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can make it glide across, but I'm going to use the repeat option for that. And I'm going to repeat 100 times, moving my cloud by -5 on the x-axis. Okay, so we change x by -5. We then go into our looks and we hide that cloud. That means once it's come across the page, repeated this code 100 times, it's going to hit this edge here and then it's just going to hide or disappear. We then wait for, we wait for a random amount of time. So I'm going to go back to my operators here and pick a random amount of time. So maybe every 5 to 10 seconds we're going to get this cloud to show up. After that 5 to 10 seconds we're going to get the cloud to show up again and repeat this process. So we need to bring in a forever loop here and just drop it about there. Okay, so that way this section of code inside the forever loop will always be running. So that means clouds are always going to be appearing on the page every 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, that is the code needed to get the first cloud moving. So let's have a quick look at it. We will have to wait 5 seconds before we see the little cloud come across the screen, but it has hidden itself and it will show up and move across the screen. Once it gets to the end it hides. It will wait between 5 and 10 seconds. We'll just randomly pick a number there and then reappear. Do the same thing all over again. Okay, so that's how we get the cloud moving across the screen. We can duplicate this code and put it on the cloud number 2 now by simply dragging it over to cloud 2. When you see it wobble, just drop it on the cloud 2. And you'll see now when you go over to cloud 2's code, you've got the same code in there. The issue is when you run that code, both clouds will appear at the same time, which will look a little bit tacky. There they are. Looks a bit fake. So what we're going to do is get this cloud 2 just waiting 1 second at the start before it appears. That way it comes out first. There it is. And then the other one will come out a few seconds later. There we go. Now just to change things up a little bit, I might go all the way to the bottom and pick a random time of 12 to 20 seconds. So the bigger cloud, which is cloud number 2, will take a little bit longer to reappear on the screen. Alright, so that has our clouds moving. The next thing we might get moving is, let's bring up the Seagull here. So the Seagull at the moment is hidden, so I'm just going to bring it back on the screen so I can see it. The size of the Seagull is obviously way too big, so what I can do is just go in here and change the size to a percentage out of 100. So let's try 15%. That makes him pretty small. And we just want him flying in the sky like the clouds and just flapping his way across. Now this little seagull is actually animated. If we go to his costumes, you can see he's got 4 different costumes there to make it look like his wings are flapping. So I'm going to first of all go to my events and bring out when the green flag is clicked. And then I'm going to bring out a forever loop, and I want this bird to be forever or always flying. So we always want that animation running. And all we need to do is go to our looks and select next costume. And it just switches between the 4 costumes and does that on repeat over and over again throughout the game. If I do run it though, you'll see that it does look like he's having a bit of a seizure there, so we need to slow him down by going to our control and putting in a wait block of code. Now 1 second wait between each costume is a little bit slow, so try something like 0.08 and it looks a bit more realistic. From there, same code as the clouds to get him flying across the screen, so let's go back to one of our clouds and drag that code and drop it on top of the seagull sprite. Here's the code here. We'll just tweak it a little bit. We might get our seagull coming out after 10 seconds so he doesn't come out straight away. Instead of just flying between 100 and 150 on the y-axis there, let's change it so he can go a little bit lower, 35, and go a bit higher there to 165. For the repeat, I'm going to change this up as well to 120, and I'm going to change the X by -4. So he's going to go a little bit slower across the page than the clouds. And at the bottom, he's just going to reappear every 10 to 15 seconds. Oops. So let's give that a run, and we'll see the clouds first of all. We just have to wait 10 seconds to see our seagull come across the page. There he is, flying quite nicely. He should hit the end, disappear just like the clouds, and he will reappear in 10 to 15 seconds time. Looking good. Next thing we might do after the seagull is the little boat. Again, the boat is going to be way too big, so when we show it back up here, it's absolutely massive. So let's reduce his size to about, say, 20%. And we want him just basically flying straight across the water about there. So let's get in some code first of all. Actually, it's the same code as the bird because he is animated. So let's get him animated first of all by copying this little bit of seagull code onto the boat, which will animate him so it looks like he's rowing along the water there. That looks good. And we want him moving across the screen as well. Same code as the seagull. So go and drag that and drop it onto the boat. We'll just tweak a few little things so they don't all come out at the same time. So for the boat, let's get rid of this wait. So let's make him come out straight away. So as soon as the green flag's clicked, he's just going to appear across the screen there. I probably don't even need to hide him. So we'll get rid of that as well. Okay, so he's going to show up. We'll set his X position to 250. Now we're going to set his Y to remain the same all the time. So he's currently in -46. So let's just round it up a little bit. So we'll say set Y to -45. Okay, that should have him pretty much in that position at all times. We're going to repeat 120 -4, so we're going to move at the same speed as the bird, and he's going to come across the page, we'd say every 10 to 15 seconds as well, I guess. That's not going to cause too much of an issue. So there he is straight away coming across the screen. We wait 10 to 15 seconds, and then he should reappear in the exact same spot, just rowing across the top of this water here. So we might wait and just see him come out a second time, just to show you that that's working. There we go, that looks good. Alright, so we've got basically our backdrop and whatnot all working there. Next thing we're going to do is probably have a look at getting, actually we might get the GIFs coming across the page next. Now with our GIFs, I flogged this off the internet and it's got a bit of a watermark at the bottom. Just highlight that and delete it, and then you can see you've just got the GIF there now to work with, which is nice. So for our GIFs, I guess they're kind of similar to what we just did with our boat to get him coming across the screen here. We might make the size a bit smaller. Let's try 25%. It's probably still a bit big. About a 20% size isn't too bad. Now I want it running across the sand here basically, so about that position is where I want it. So the Y is -116. Keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go back to our boat, drag down this code and drop it on the gift. Okay, so we've got the code to make our gift run across the screen, but we need to set this Y value to minus 116. That's its current Y position. And I'm going to move that up to the top. Okay, so as soon as the green flag's clicked, we're going to set the Y to minus 116, and that's where it is going to stay at all times. I want it to hide at the start again, so we don't want to see it straight away. And then we have the forever loop. Actually, no, we want to tell it how long we need to wait before it appears on the screen. So maybe wait 2 seconds before we see the first present. So we set the Y-axis to where it is now. We hide it. We wait 2 seconds. Then we can show it. We set the X to 250, so it starts off the right-hand side of the page. Let's repeat this 100 times and bring it back to minus 5, so it's moving about the same speed as the clouds. We hide it when it gets to the edge of the page, and then we wait maybe 5 to 10 seconds before that present reappears. Let's have a look at that. Okay, we've got the present moving nicely across the page. Did that just have a little bit of a glitch at the end there? Let's have a look. Sort of gets a little bit stuck there at the end, so you can change this repeat if you want to say 95, and we'll test again and see if it clears off a bit quicker. That works probably a little bit better, so play around with that repeat number if you want. If it just stalls a little bit when it's hitting the edge of the page there, just lower that number so it'll just disappear that little bit quicker. I think 95 works pretty well. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. What I'm going to do now is duplicate this gift. So right click and duplicate it, and we'll have gift 2. And then, actually I might just leave that now as, for now as gift 2. What I'm going to do is actually change its color effect. So, another event when the green flag's clicked we can bring out for this gift number 2. And it's going to be changing the color effect. So in your looks, here it is, change the color effect by 25, and what that will do is change the color of the present to a different color when we press the green flag. Something else we can do is just to make sure the presents don't all come out at the same time, we'll put the wait to maybe 5 seconds before we see this next present come out, and we'll make it every 5 to 8 seconds we'll see this colored present come out. So watch now, we've got a pink present with a red ribbon to start with. Watch this second gift that comes out. You'll see it's a slightly different colour. We've now got a pink present with a yellow ribbon. And that's that colour effect being changed there. You can play with that number, change it all you want, to see what sort of different effects you can get on your gift. Now I'm going to duplicate that one more time to make a third gift. And for this one we're going to change the colour effect again. Let's change it to say 75 this time. We'll also change when it comes out. We'll wait 10 seconds before we see this third gift. And we will wait, let's say, somewhere between 4 and 8 seconds before we see it come out again. So let's just quickly have a look to make sure you've got 3 different coloured gifts coming out. So there's one, there's the second different coloured one, and hopefully the next one that comes out, yep, here's the third one. So it's yellow with a green ribbon. Alright, so we've got most things moving across the page quite nicely now. I guess it's time we put our little Santa, actually, we do our enemies. My mistake. Gingerbread Man, Reindeer, and Christmas Tree. We better get them going. Okay, so similar code once again. So our Gingerbread Man to start with is actually animated. If we go to our costumes, you can see he's got legs that move. He's also facing the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is just flip each of these horizontally very quickly. So he's running from right to left. And back in the code, we are going to do a similar animation like we did with the boat. So there it is there. When we press the green flag, we wait 0.8 of a second. Actually, we might even slow that down a bit. Speed that up a bit. 0.03. Let's get him moving quick. Okay, that's going to get him running across the screen quite fast, which is nice. From there, what will we do? We'll probably just get him moving across the screen. So let's grab our boat code again, drop it on the Gingerbread Man. Okay, so with that, actually I've probably got the wrong one. Let's get the Seagull code. It's got a little bit more in it, which is what I'm chasing. Okay, it's got this hide bit at the start. And it's got the wait for, oh, where do we want to wait? We want to wait probably about 15 seconds before we see the gingerbread man. He's probably the hardest enemy to come across, so we don't want him to come out straight away at the start. He's going to show up 250. We're going to change this Y. So set the Y. We're going to get rid of that. We're actually going to put that up the top, I reckon. Because he's always going to be in the same Y position. So let's always set him to, let's show him up. Oh, better change his size here. Let's drop him down to about 25%. And we want him running across the top of the sand here, so that's about -102 for the Y axis. So if you set him to that position, he hides, we wait 15 seconds, that's when he shows up. Now we want him running fast, so I'm going to repeat this 70 times at speed -7. Hide him. And then we'll wait maybe 10 to 20 seconds before he comes out again. Let's just have a quick look and make sure that's okay. Again, we're going to have to wait 15 seconds before we see him. I know that's a bit painful. Any second now though, we should see our little gingerbread man. There he goes. He's running pretty quick across the screen, so that looks good. So that similar code will be used on the reindeer now as well. So I'm going to drag over the animation. Whoops. And the move code to the reindeer. As you can see in the costumes, our reindeer has little prancing legs to make it look like he's running. He's also got a red nose there. Lights up. So we've got our animation in for our reindeer. We probably don't need him running as quick, so we might slow him down a bit. So let's work out his position first. To resize him to, let's say, 25% as well. And we obviously don't want him running that direction, so we're going to have to go and flip all these horizontally. Alright, so now he's facing the right way, so let's get him out there on the y-axis, so -103. We hide him. Let's wait, say, 9 seconds before he comes out. With our forever loop, we'll show him 250. I'm going to slow him back down a bit. So I'm going to go repeat 80 times and -6. Change the X by. And then I'm going to wait every maybe anywhere between 1 and 5 seconds before we see another reindeer pop out. So that looks pretty straightforward to me. So after 9 seconds, we should see the first reindeer pop out. He's prancing across the screen. That works quite nicely. Alright, last thing we want to do now is just the Christmas tree. There's no animation on the Christmas tree, so it's a bit easier. I'm just going to get the code for the gingerbread man or the reindeer and drop it on there. For the move section, okay, so we don't need to animate it, so we just got the move bit. Now Christmas tree, if we show it up, it's a bit too big and in the wrong position, so let's drop his size to say 25% as well. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, I reckon that's probably about right. I'll try 20%. Yeah, we'll go 20%, just a little bit smaller. Bit easier to jump over. So at 20%, he's going to start at -101. We hide him. Let's wait, say 7 seconds. And then we'll bring him out. Now, I don't want him to go too quick, so we'll slow him down to 100 and then move him on the x-axis at -5 speed. We'll get him to show up every 3 to 5 seconds. Alright, so if we wait 7 seconds, we should see our Christmas tree come out. Here he is. Our reindeer. So all the presents working, all our enemies or obstacles are working. I think we've got everything flying across the screen quite nicely. Alright, so I might call it quits here for this video. I'm going to come back in the next video and we'll code up our Santa Claus, and we'll also code up what happens when Santa either hits the gift or runs into an enemy, and we'll work out how to finish our game. Alright, so I will catch you in that second video shortly.